What is up, YouTube? How you guys doing today? It's your boy Nicola Waters back with another video, aka King of the Brick. That's my name now. Don't forget it. And today's video, we're gonna be talking about joint techniques. Not joint techniques, but what's what I'm looking for? Like joints. So like this, all of that. Basically using that idea but with Legos to make some really interesting things. Things like that when you see you wouldn't believe how they were made. So if you like the video, comment, share, tell your friends. Follow me on Instagram, hashtag Murky Waters, or at Murky Waters. And then if you go to Instagram and then you type in hashtag King of the Brick, no spaces, you'll find some of my builds there. But with that being said, let's get into the video. So this video, we're gonna be talking about joints and how I make them and what I use them for and different methods and ways they can be used. And like different ways that I use them in all my builds. Cause you'd be surprised what you can do with them. Cause they're really simple, but at the same time, if you use them the right way, you could really get certain angles that otherwise would be hard to get when it comes to using bricks to make things. So that being said, let's start with some just a few examples and some basic ones. So most of the time when I do use hinge pieces or joint pieces or pieces that move, it's to get certain angles that you can't really make with bricks. So like a lot of my cars, if you go on my Instagram, a lot of my cars, the way I do the windshields is I make the top part hollow, and then I use like a joint piece to kind of slope the plate, and then I use black or blue flat pieces depending on what color the window's gonna be. Or I use my joints to make like robots or people or different poses. Or I even use them to mount my stand if I make something that needs to be put like this. So like if it's something that's in display, I normally tilt it upward for the camera angle, and because it looks better overall than just like a flat thing on a second flat thing. So yeah, that's kind of what I use joints for, but you can use them in a lot of different ways. You can use them to just make certain angles that you want to make, give certain curves to certain things that have curves on them. But for the most part, they could be used in many ways. And it's not just a simple like robot or a person like posing. That can also be what it's used for. But you can use it in different options. So one of the main ones I use often is I use this little joint right here. So it's really just a 2x2 hole. Let me see. So it's just a 2x2, or I guess any piece you want to use, how long it is, with a little stud in it. And then when you connect it in a 2x2 hole, it gives it that ability to move and go at different angles that you wish to put it at. And then when you put an end piece on it, you end up getting something like this. But then if you want to make something that's tilted down, you would tilt it down and then find an angle, or tilt it up and find the angle, or keep it flat and kind of give it a curve. But that's kind of how I do it, and that's kind of what most people do when they make things that require different shapes that aren't just square. Things that when you make them, you need to mount them on something. So for example, my bat signal, it used one of these joints I will show you in the video. I used that one to mount the bat signal so it was tilting diagonal to give that effect where you're putting it in the air to call Batman. You know how the classic movies turn the bat signal and then it's tilting upward like that, so you can see the flashlight in the air. That's kind of what I use that joint piece for. I also use them for some windshields and for Iron Man's arc reactor, and even like to make different poses with my sculptures. I use kind of the same thing, and it's always a simple, a simple piece. Imagine that that's the body of the builds, and then you put the joint piece on there, and then you tilt it angle you want to, and you lock it in place by putting a brick under it or over it, or putting a stud near it, and basically having 2 points of connection. And that's kind of why I use most of my builds. And this is like the basic thing I use all the time. It's very flexible, it's very movable, and it reminds me of like a shoulder joint. How if you move your shoulder, notice how my arm follows like right here. So that's kind of the same thing. This is the body, this is the arm. And then when you do that, that gives you the opportunity to actually make certain things and give them angles. Or you can even use it to make helicopter blades, or if you want to tilt things at an angle, things like that. So that's one of them I use, where it's a simple piece with the stud, and then the middle piece is the actual joint itself that moves, as you can see. And then this piece just caps it off, so that way it's not gonna fall off, and then you can connect it and give it strength and stability. That's one joint thing I use. And then another one, kind of the same thing, sticking to like the whole linear movement type deal, the arm joint, same thing. But this one I used just a brick piece with the little L shape that puts the studs on the side, and then I used this rotating piece right here. And again, same method as the other one, but this one uses the stud piece. So now I can put the studs outward. So if I want to make like an arm or something, or like a muscle or a bicep, I could do that. That's the body, that's the joint, and then I can detail the actual arm piece, and that way you have like a functioning movement. And that could be used for a lot of things. Personally, I would use it more if I made like the Flash running, because he's always running. He's a speedster, so you can't run with your arms like this. You have to, you gotta move. So with that being said, these joint pieces are really useful for giving that effect of movement in your builds. So like if you made someone on a treadmill, you wouldn't make them standing there, right? Because treadmills don't stand there; they move. They require you to have kinetic energy. So this piece right here is really useful, because unlike the other joint with the stud, this piece simply has the rotating piece on it. So that allows you to connect a base plate or even a brick or whatever you want to do with it on the side. And now you can detail that piece and give that piece shape. And now you have like a functioning moving arm, opposed to just like someone sitting there. And that seems kind of simple, but a lot of your builds depend on what you're trying to depict. So if you're trying to make a statue that's standing still, you would just use a simple brick to kind of layer it, and then make it extrude out, and then make it arm down. But if you're trying to make something that looks kinetic, or is moving, or has motion to it, that's why I use this one mostly. And that's kind of the secret to making your joints. You have this one, the little here's the body, and then you have the little stud piece, which allows you to rotate it, or if not, if you want to put it at an angle, you have two fixed points here that you can connect together, and then this piece is gonna be a piece that you can adjust the angle to what you need it to. And then as you adjust it, you add layers on top so it doesn't hit the corners, and now you have a mounted piece, which can be used to show like a trophy or a display case, or it can be used to put something at an angle, or it can be used to put something on display. And that's the purpose of it, because you can't make a build and have all square, because then at that point it's like a big box. So the goal is to think outside the box. that was funny. Think outside the box and use use your mind to give that square build some angles, some texture, some slopes, things like that. And again, this can be applied for statues, sculptures, buildings. It can be applied for anything. It can even be used to make a simple triangle. Where like a tent where you have two of these pieces, like one sitting here like that, and then the other one is reversed, and then you just add a plate to it that's sloping, and now you have like a nice little triangle shape that can be used to depict whatever you're trying to make on that day in particular. And then also a good joint is one of my favorite ones per se, but this is more for if you're making like people or something like that. But this is kind of the same thing, but instead this takes the idea of you moving your elbow. Like you have your elbow joint here, and then your arms kind of follow the elbow joint, and this kind of does that. So you have, I guess that would be a shoulder, and that piece right there, that would be the elbow piece. So you would simply use the little one pieces that poke out, and then you would put one here and put one here and make sure that they're held together. And then when you do that, you have this ability to now make something move. See, you can now give whatever you're making a little more human aspect to it, like a little more realistic, because now you can make something that can do something. So it could sit here straight as if someone's arm is straight, or you can bend at the elbow, and now it's kind of like you're holding your arm out, or you can give a slight bend and then bend the forearm, and now it's like a bicep curl. And then that even applies for the hand, because you can put a piece there, and now the hand has motion too. So whatever you want to do with that, you can, because you now have you now have 3 points of movement in this one thing. So that gives you the ability to shape how you want to make your builds. And then from there, you would simply make I guess this would be the bone structure. Make the bone structure, and then from there, detail it how you want to. But that basic principle of joints and human movement is really key to making it. You gotta know how to think as if you were moving, because if you don't, a lot of times your builds do come out awfully square and stiff. But if you're able to add a little bit of kinetic energy to your builds, what's gonna happen is you'll see that a lot of my builds that involve moving joints and overall kinetic movement use this idea. Like one build, if you go on my Instagram, I think the man me poses is the colorful guy. He's like red and black, and he's doing all these different poses. That's kind of what I used. I used that simple 3-pronged joint. I use that simple 3-joint system for his arms and his legs and his knees, and then his hips. I kind of use the same thing. But then again, with the hip joints, because our bodies work differently, and because of how humans work, joints are somewhat complicated. Because now, if you're talking about an arm, that would make sense because you have the elbow. But if you're talking about like a hip joint or a shoulder joint, a lot of times I use this same basic thing where you have the movement right here, but instead of using the rotating piece, sometimes I just simply use the stud piece. So I got 1x2 one with a hole inside of it, and then second one with a hole, and then you connect them. When you do that, you have the ability to rotate it, twist it, do it going with it. But this one only moves vertical, which means whatever you're making has to sit on this vertically. But then again, this is really good for many ideas, because like I said, the bat signal, the way I made the bat signal perch up like that was I actually used this very joint piece, and then I basically put it at an angle, and they had two of them on each side, and then I put base plates to make sure everything hit the corners, and then I just put them together. So now when you see it, it sits up, perched like that, and then of course the bottom piece I use slopes to hold it in place so it's sat at the right angle. But yeah, that's kind of what it is. It's a really simple concept, and if you think about it, it's like it sounds complicated, but it's like imagine you just as a human, how you move every day without thinking about it. That's kind of the same thing. And with these joint pieces, that allows you to make the builds to do that. So it gives your build kinetic energy, and it makes them be able to move in different ways, different poses. So you can make like a warrior or something holding a spear in the air, or you can make someone crouching, make someone kneeling, make someone having a seat. You can do so many different things with that, and all these and that's all done just by simple joint pieces. Pieces that don't seem very complicated, that are just simply this. But then when you use that simple method and that simple idea, what happens is you're able to really expand on that and then do some incredible things. And that's kind of why I want to do this video today, because back to the basics is going to be the first few videos in my channel. And this is a basic idea that I use often that people don't really see, and they see my builds, but oh, how did you make the window tilt up, or how did you make that thing perch up, or how did you make this piece do that? A lot of times the pieces that have like the kinetic movement or they're posing, I use the simple joint method, whether it's this one to make it perch up, or I use this one sometimes to kind of give it more strength. Or if not, what I'll do is, if I'm making something like a person having a seat, normally the middle piece will now be the body, and then the legs are now the hips. So now it gives you the ability to individually put a piece here as if he's having a seat or running, or not reverse it, or you can make him in mid-step walking. It's really simple method though. But a lot of these methods you don't really think about, and you don't see how they're actually done. So I'm kind of showing you the basics behind it, and sticking with that whole joint idea. That's kind of why I made this as an example, because it's showing you the purpose of the joints. This is just a simple, I guess, robot or whatever. But notice how his arms, they can lay to the side, or they can go up, or they can go down. They kind of had that freedom to move how they want to. And because of that, you can really pose your builds in different directions and give them more life and movement than just a big square on top of a big square. Because that's cool and all, but you kind of want to try to think outside the box. And even when it comes to joints, even like a simple neck joint is doable. You just simply put the rotating piece on the top, and then you put a piece on top of it. And then what happens is you now have the ability to rotate the neck in any direction you see fit. Put that to the side a little bit, or to the other side, or put it to a slight angle. Things like that. But it's very simple. It's a very simple concept, which is why I want to do this video in particular, because this is a good back to basics video, because it shows you how I make most of my things that involve angles. Because a lot of times you see them and you think I use slope pieces. No, a lot of times I just simply use a joint method, and then kind of keep the top part empty, and then I put the windshield on the actual like a joint like this, and then I put it on top, and then when I make the car, what happens is you have the body of the car made, and then for the top part, it's all the outsides around it. It's a base plate with the window on top of it, and then the roof, and then that's how you make the top of the car most of the time. It's really simple. It's not like a complicated idea, but it's so versatile because it allows you to really think outside the box. It allows you to make certain things. And again, the joint isn't just used for a person or a body or a sculpture. It can be used to give any build you want an angle that you're trying to find, or give you any build that you're trying to make that revolves you making a platform and then basing it on the platform at an angle. A lot of times that's how you do it. You simply make the platform, you find an angle that you want, and then basically you build around the bottom piece to allow it to sit and basically rest fully on the base plate. And when you do that, a lot of times you'll see that a lot of the builds look really cool and have these nice smooth angles to them for that reason alone. But yeah, that's kind of video I want to do today. I'm actually happy about this video because I like doing the joint pieces. It allows me to really think outside the box and then really make nice looking things. Like a lot of my cars, they use a lot of joint pieces. So a lot of my cars, you don't see them, but a lot of them use this method. But I always get so many compliments. Oh, how'd you make it like that? That's how I make it like that. And it's really cool because it gives you that different perspective on how to make it without having to buy a bunch of slant pieces. Because you can make the same slant with a simple base plate and one of these, opposed to having to buy a million slant pieces. But yeah, that's kind of what I want to talk about. That's kind of the point of this video. Joints are really good. They're really important. They're easy to make. Just imagine the human body, or if not, a simple thing I do is, if you can do this, then the Lego should be able to do the same thing. And then when you do that, you'll see that a lot of the builds you can make, a lot of them will have more detail and more depth and more motion to them. And it's always impressive when you make a statue that looks like it's in motion, because then it gives you that feel like it's running, that it's moving, that it's alive. And that even applies for the cars. It gives you that feel that, oh, he made the body, but then the windshield has the nice little curve. Because like only a few cars actually have like square tops. That's like maybe Fiats and Fiats or like box cars. But a lot of them don't work like that. So when I make them, a lot of times the reason they come out slanted is because of the joint pieces. Cool, right? That's really cool. I think that's really cool. But yeah, that's kind of the point of this video. If you like it, comment, subscribe, share. Follow me on Instagram, #MurkyWaters. I'll put my video and my Instagram link so you can check out my video and to check out most of my builds. And again, I'm just here, I'm just here inspiring other people to be great and then use Legos to be creative and kind of help them deal with their stress and anxiety. So if you like that, share it, like it, tell your friends, friends, and let me know so I can keep doing more of these. But yeah, that's kind of the point here. Hope you enjoyed the video and have a good day.